Retirees, we live, we lose track of the day. We lose track of the days because we don't have a structure to them. We don't have kids to drive to work or to school, and we don't have a job waiting for us. And so we have to structure our own time after 40 or 50 years of a structure that most of us had to adhere to in order to survive. You had to get a job, make money, or we may have had a different kind of life where maybe we ran the house and we brought up the children, and that had a structure to it too, a very busy structure to it. But once you retire from the requirements of society in order to survive, you're on your own. You're on your own. And so I have to remind myself that I'm not losing my mind because I sometimes don't know what day it is, and say, oh, get a grip, get a grip. I'm gaining a new way of looking at time, a new way of looking at time. And today is Monday, and I feel like there was no Sunday. There's probably a reason for that. And it was just a very long Saturday. It was like a 48-hour Saturday. And it could have been because I set up the memorial for Gaglietta, my little puppy that was killed last Sunday. And in less than a minute, she was out on the street. You know, it's kind of weird. I don't really believe in random acts. And that's because I'm human. And we try and make sense of things because the vastness of the universe, the vastness of life, how could this be? And nobody knows. We're studying it for thousands of years, and we'll continue to study, for thousands of years, how this happened, how we appear to be the only planet with life that's similar to ours. That's life. There are other planets that apparently have organisms on them. So I do understand. I don't understand, quite honestly, what happened. But I do understand now. I understand why people have memorials. And before this, I always used to think, well, that's kind of weird. And that's kind of like, why do you want to be reminded? But I understand now why there are tombstones, and I understand now why there are, cremation urns, and I chose that for the dog. I chose to have her cremated, and I brought her remains home. And actually, I left them in the car for a day because I just couldn't deal with it. But I did bring her in, brought the remains in. And, they gave it to me in a little square black box, and I thought, well, that doesn't seem appropriate for a puppy. And so I found a blue cloth for her, and I wrapped it in that, and I put a ribbon that she used to like to pull off my neck, and I used the ribbon to tie it. And then I've had it for a long time, a very old Winnie the Pooh bear that I found in the garage of the house I once lived in. Some renter had left there, and but I'd cleaned it up, and I'd had it for years. It was sort of in one of my bookcases, and I put that there. And I felt a lot better about it. I pass the day all day. I go back and forth from one room to the other. And I thought, oh, that's why people have memorials. So they feel, well, I can't say you feel less alone. And I can't say that I really understand what happened, because I live on a quiet little street. It's a dirt street. We have very little traffic. If we have 3 or 5 cars a day, that's a lot. It's just people coming, taking their kids to school or going to work or going out to buy groceries. And there are 2 dogs that live outside on the street. They're abandoned dogs that were left here. And several of us feed the dogs. I fed them this morning. Several of us feed the dogs, but they actually refuse. I've tried months ago when the dog first arrived, to get him to come and I have a doghouse to live on, but he attached himself to the two other dogs that the owners take care of and allowed to go in their garage to sleep at night. But those dogs are loose all day long in the street. And that's really quite common here in Mexico, or in this part of Mexico, that people go to work or they just let their dogs out in the street. They don't want to clean up after them. Who knows what? They feed them, but they let them loose. So these 4 dogs were all in the street that Sunday when I parked my car, pulled my car onto my property, and I blanked. I blanked. I was tired and I thought, oh, I can relax now. And I let the dog out and I oh my God, the gate is open. And of course she was gone. And by the time I reached the rear of the car, I heard this other car speeding by and I heard the sound and I knew my dog. She was dead on impact. So after that, I was quite hysterical actually for a while. And I kept thinking, but those dogs were on the street that day, at that time. They were on the street. Why was it my puppy? Well, those are the kinds of questions humans like to make sense of. And part of me goes, I really don't believe in random acts because I'm human. I want to make sense of things. And sometimes things are senseless and we can't make sense of them. We just have to accept them.